Fairy tales, an important role for children, an important thing for them to have while growing up. Helps them develop creativity, imagination, increase their use of their minds, and role-play situations such as make-believe help stimulate their brain and help them understand situations that we as adults cannot teach them. This will be discussed through this whole presentation. Starting with imagination. Imagination is something that children develop early on in their lives, and it's something that's very important for them. Fairy tales are one way that kids can express their imagination and understand that it's okay to think outside the box, to believe in things that aren't real, and this helps them tremendously in life, and they'll be able to use imagination through any stage. In the article, The Effects of Fairy Tales on the Development of Preschool Children's Imaginations, it talks about how fairy tales are crucial to a child's development and their imagination. It states that it shows worldly common truths regarding men and the world around them. In a simple manner, tales and stories introduce the meaning of existence to the child. They show him pre-established by humans, teach proper behaviors, and what is more, familiarize children with morals rewarded by the society. Showing children fairy tales not only increases their imagination, but it also improves their creativity. Imagination and creativity go hand in hand. Now, people don't think as fairy tales is imagination. They think of it as a not real world that children use for enjoyment and enjoyment only. And while that is true, it's not always true. Some children use this to develop their imagination and understand it even more than they ever knew before, and show them that there's a world of possibilities with imagination and using it in today's society. Now, moving to the increase the minds. This is a very important thing because children's minds develop very early on in life, and it's shown through different stages, and it starts very young. And with fairy tales coming in to play, it helps them develop morals, behavior skills, anything you can imagine. It creates their brains and helps them think, simply think. In the article 5 Reasons Why Fairy Tales Are Good for Children, they talk about thinking and critical thinking skills. Like it states, fairy tales teach children critical thinking skills. They see the consequences of characters and decisions and learn what will happen to them depending on the choice that they make. Not all characters are good, and not all characters are role models. You have your evil ones and you have your good ones. This will teach children what choice to make in a bad decision. Morals are one big thing about this with the mind. Children need to learn morals very early on, because if they don't know morals, then they're not going to behave right, and they're not going to know what to do in certain situations. That's where fairy tales come in, because situations in fairy tales, they show them that it is possible to pick a good choice and to be a good person. You don't always have to choose the bad end of the stick. Now, fairy tales are not always the best thing for morals when it comes to children, and people will say that. Children need to learn morals by their parents, and they need to learn through discipline. And this is a true statement. I will agree with that. That is true. But if you can teach children simple ways of learning morals through fairy tales, then that's the way to go, because children's minds aren't as developed as adults. Moving on to the last part, make-believe, role play situations. That's a huge part of a child's life. Make-believe is something that I used to do when I was a kid with my sister. And it's important. It can help children act out situations that may happen in the future, and they can learn how to deal with it. Learning how to deal with it is something that people don't learn how to do anymore. And teaching children young is the smartest thing to do. Children need to learn young how to adapt to these situations and know what to do. Because if they don't learn now, then they never will. With role play situations, if children were to come from a home that's not the greatest and their parents fight, they're able to go into their minds and into these fairy tales and escape the real world and understand that it will be okay. It will be okay, and they will live. Now, while they will live and understand is a different concept, and people don't understand that they can learn this way and they can do it and use fairy tales and everything, but that's just how it works for them, and that's how their minds work, and they use the simple things to understand. They use it as their way to cope. They use fairy tales as their way to escape. They use fairy tales as their way to build themselves and to build their creativity, to build their imagination, to develop their minds more than what it was. So, fairy tales have become a way for children to improve upon themselves, not only in their creativity and their imagination and their minds, but also with real world issues and able to understand them more and more than what they could before.